Alright guys, so today's video is on the brand new Beats Studio Buds Plus. Now this is the latest earbuds from Apple or Beats that come in retailing at $169, and this is supposed to be the improved or upgraded version of the Beats Studio Buds, which Apple still sells. Those normally come in at $149, but you can usually find them on sale for under $100. They usually go on sale for about 99 bucks. And my initial impressions on the Beats Studio Buds Plus weren't really that great, or at least there's just so many things I had questions about. So that's why I held off on doing that initial video. But honestly, over the time that I've had these, my impressions haven't really changed. There's so many questions that I have, so many things that just don't make sense, and just a lot of things that don't really justify the $169 price tag. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what all comes inside the box, and we're going to see why I think that price tag is just a little too steep for these. So to start with, one of the first things you're going to notice is the different colorway that these are available in. Now they do have a couple of other colors, but the main one here is the transparent version. That's the one that I have here. I think that's the one that a lot of people are gravitating towards because the transparent look in electronics is kind of the thing right now. And honestly, it is a very good look for these earbuds. Now, like I said, these are $20 more than the Studio Buds, and that is the retail price. If the Beats Studio Buds are on sale for their $99, then we're talking about $70 more for the Studio Buds Plus. And really the only differences that I can personally find is the active noise canceling is slightly better. The battery life is also slightly better, but the audio, in my opinion, isn't as good as the Studio Buds. Now that obviously is going to come down to personal taste. We're going to talk about that once we get to the sound. But some other things that these have is they do have the new Beats chip. These actually do work well with both Apple and Android devices. It's not like typical Apple products where it's good with Apple products, and there's not really a whole lot of value when it comes to using them outside of the ecosystem. It also comes with 4 sets of silicone ear tips instead of 3, which you get with the regular Studio Buds. It does come with a USB-C charger, which you are going to have to use because even in this price range of $169, the case on these is not a Qi wireless charging case. That absolutely makes no sense to me in this price range. Now, it does work with Beats app if you're going to use it on an Android device. You do have to go into the settings if you're going to use it on an Apple device, because just in the settings, you'll see the pop-up to be able to go in and you can switch around a couple of things, but there is no different levels of noise canceling that you can switch between. You can't really do that with transparency mode either. You could basically turn your noise canceling on, your transparency mode on, or just turn them both off. That's really the only functions that you have. You can go in the app or the settings and switch around some controls so that you do have control over everything. And there's no EQ options either. Now, again, this is kind of typical with other Apple earbuds and headphones, so that's not really a surprise, but it just feels very bare bones what you can do with the earbuds in the settings and with the app. And another thing that these don't have, which is kind of confusing in this price range, is there's no smart sensors. And I think, what makes me question these type of moves is it really feels like Apple does this to pull back on the Beats lineup so that it does not compete with the AirPod Pros or just the AirPod 3rd Gen or anything like that. I think they always purposely want to have it where those products are superior to the Beats lineup, and I do not understand this way of thinking. Now, moving over to talking about the noise canceling and the transparency mode, like I said, it is slightly better than it is on the regular Beats Studio Buds, but it is still not as good as it is on the AirPods Pro. Again, it just feels like they're kind of pulling it back so that you can still justify spending more to get the AirPods Pro, but I do not see that it makes these worth spending the slightly more money over the Beats Studio Buds just off the noise canceling or transparency alone. I mean, it does a good job of blocking out engine noises, blocking out anything that has like that lower rumble, but anybody talking or any higher pitched sounds are still going to come through just as they would really on any other pair of earbuds. Now, another thing is this pair does have the spatial audio, which is something that Apple is including on a lot of their devices. I am just not a fan of spatial audio. I kind of find it to be a gimmick, and I don't really find that it works well with music. It does work well if you're going to use it for movies or TV shows, so at least you have it for that. Some people like it with music. I'm just not a huge fan here. Now, moving back over to looking at the case and the earbuds themselves, the case has a USB-C input on the bottom. It does have a single light up front. That way you can gauge how much battery life is on the case. And like I said, it is a transparent case, so you can see where the earbuds sit into the case. You can also see the battery just kind of right there in the middle of the case, and I do like the look of these. Now, the earbuds, again, have that transparent look, and these are some of the most comfortable earbuds, but that was still the case with the regular Studio Buds. It does use a single button on both of the earbuds for your controls, and like I said earlier, I'm happy to say once you go into the settings and turn on the volume control as the long press, you do have control over everything right there on the earbuds. Now, the battery life on these, like I said, it is slightly improved over the Studio Buds. If you're going to use these with the noise canceling off, you can get 9 hours on the earbuds and about 27 hours using the case, so you're going to get 36 hours total. So if you are going to use these with the noise canceling on, you're going to get somewhere between 6 to 7 hours on the earbuds, and you're going to get closer to about 22 to 23 hours on the case. So battery life is not bad. We've definitely seen much better, and we've seen much better in this price range, but at least it is slightly better than it is on the regular Studio Buds. Now, if you are going to use these for phone calls, this is another area that they've slightly improved on. I do feel like the mic is a little bit better than it is on the Studio Buds, and I do feel like they do a good job of also blocking out a lot of your surroundings, but you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. So here is a mic test using the Beats Studio Buds Plus. And the mics I'm very impressed with. I think it does a very good job of picking up my voice, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here's the mic test with the crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And so this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's talk about the sound, because honestly, this is my biggest gripe or complaint about the Studio Buds Plus over the Studio Buds, because I was actually a very big fan of how the Studio Buds sound, so I really had high expectations for the Studio Buds Plus, and honestly, I still prefer the sound of the regular Studio Buds. I feel like the Studio Buds Plus added a little bit too much bass. It bloated up the sound and it made it sound slightly warmer, where the Studio Buds have a brighter sound. It's cleaner, it's more detailed, so I prefer the sound of the Studio Buds. Now, I'm not saying that the Studio Buds Plus don't sound good. The overall sound on these, the bass is definitely boosted. I don't feel like they boosted the treble enough to kind of balance that out, especially depending on what genres you listen to. That bass can just overpower and dull out the mids and the treble. It's just not as detailed sounding because it feels like they boosted one end and they didn't really focus on the others. Now, if you're listening to certain genres where the bass is not prominent, vocals do stand out pretty nicely. You can hear a lot of details in the vocals. You can hear a lot of clarity in the treble, but there was never a time where I felt like these were as bright or as clean sounding as the regular Studio Buds. And that's the same thing about the soundstage and the sound imaging. Because the bass is a little bit more prominent in these, the soundstage and the sound image is just not as open. It closes these in a little bit. These still do a really good job of being able to tell where sounds are coming from, so at least that's a plus. But if I had to break these down into the different genres, if you mainly listen to pop and hip hop, this is where I give them their highest rating, coming in at an 8. I feel like the bass is going to make most people very happy. But if you move over to listening to rock and metal, where there's a lot more going on, it's just a crazier genre, I'm going to drop these down to a 6. I feel like the bass takes over way too much in these genres. If you're listening to anything with double bass, it definitely dulls out the mids and the treble a little too much, and it's just not as fun to listen to. But if you're going to listen to easy listening or genres that don't really focus so much on bass, it brings this rating up to a 7. I don't feel like it dulls out this genre. I feel like it sounds very nice on this pair, but it's still not the best that I've heard in this price range. Now, if you're going to use these for different types of media, this is where I give these a 7 as well. Again, explosions are going to sound good because the bass is good, but because the mids and the treble aren't spiked up or peaked up a little bit, dialogue doesn't come out as clearly. It's just not as bright or as fun to listen to when it comes to different types of media. So my overall rating on the Beats Studio Buds Plus is going to be a 6. I just don't see the value here, and I don't see why there is a need to bump up the price or even to offer these in general. I don't think there's enough here to make a whole new earbud, to charge at times what could be almost twice as much when you can get the Studio Buds at $99. It just makes no sense. And it's also Apple still being Apple, where you don't get Qi wireless charging and you don't get the noise canceling that you can get out of the AirPods Pro. And there's just so many things that it feels like it's limited and it's being held back. And it seems like it's that way by design. But guys, that's my video on the brand new Beats Studio Buds Plus. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.